I guess you could say that this episode is, well, two Tales and a TIFU. It's Vince. This is the RR Show. We've got Tales from Retail, then from the front desk, and then r/TIFU. It's going to be fun. Let's have a good time and share the show with a friend and or family member. Would you? It'd be nice. We could spread the word about the RR Show. All right, so here we go. It is time to jump into these stories right now. So as stated previously, the first story from r/Tales from Retail. From user Temporary Lumpy 8589. 2 brazen encounters at the deli counter. As I think back on my time working in the grocery store's deli hot bar section, I remember there were 2 times I had to get authorities involved. I figured I'd better tell those stories. The first one is super short, so I can put them both here. They also happen within a day or 2 of each other, though I don't remember which happened first. Because the deli is a service counter and not self-serve, loss prevention usually didn't have to worry about us. But there were at least 2 occasions they did while I was there. Story number 1. So had a customer come in late after the deli was closed, and we had taken down the machines for cleaning. It was company policy that if we had just closed, but not cleaned or taken apart the slicers yet, we could serve customers who ran in last minute. Unfortunately, while it was a rare occurrence, 1 or 2 people thought that meant they could get meat all day up until the main store closed at 11 p.m., even though the deli closed at 9. Enter balding, middle-aged guy in flannels. He came in about 9:45 p.m. one night, just as I'd finished dismantling the last slicer and put the parts in a sink full of suds. He wanted a half a pound of salt and pepper roast beef, sliced. I told him we were closed, and he said, "But you're supposed to be able to still cut it after closing." I told him that only applied if we had functioning slicers, which we didn't at the moment. The other girl on closing duty with me suggested he look to see if we had any in our pre-sliced display. Every day, we'd cut several half-pound bags of our best sellers and put them in said display to save time. He did, but we were out. This man, without another word, took a swing at my colleague. He didn't come close to hitting her because she and I both had a nasty gut feeling about this guy from the moment he walked up and had stepped, well, back. He then proceeded to storm around the store, making a mess. He didn't yell or scream or cuss. He just started destroying our store systematically. He had a shopping basket instead of a cart and was swinging it at displays and shelves, knocking stuff down. We called loss prevention, and they called the cops, who carted him off. The most bizarre thing was, after that incident, a rival store made a point of advertising that they didn't close their deli until their whole store was closed. Though, as they closed their whole store at 10 p.m., it really wasn't much of a difference. I actually had an employee from said rival store, when she heard this story from me, heavily imply it was our fault because we were giving poor customer service by closing the deli before the rest of the store. Story number 2. For context, at the far end of the deli hot bar counter, the store I worked at also had a fresh sandwich station, where we would have some meat where we cut fresh that morning, bread fresh out of the bakery from the department's oven, and various sub-toppings. Customers would order a sandwich and we'd make it, bag it, and hand it over the counter to them. This was time-consuming, and we sometimes would get big crowds at lunch, especially after a highway underpass started being constructed right near our store. To make things a bit more complicated, we had a rotating sub of the day special throughout the week. For instance, Sunday would be turkey, Monday would be ham, Tuesday any single meat 6-inch with the purchase of a bag of chips, etc. The way we would make sure the customer got a discount when they took their sandwich to the cashier was to put the sandwich in a sub of the day bag instead of the normal bag. The barcodes were different. Enter entitled young customer, bedecked in jewelry and a spotless white business suit, who came in during a lunch rush. Said blinged out lady had a steadily growing queue of disgruntled construction dudes and ladies piling up behind her because she absolutely would not take her sandwich and go. I had put it in a deluxe sub bag and she adamantly wanted the sub of the day bag, even though she had knowingly made edits to the sandwich that increased the price. She was literally huffing and rolling her eyes because I wouldn't give her her way. My store's general manager was a penny pincher, and under no circumstances were we to put anything extra on the sandwich without putting it in a deluxe sub bag, i.e. more expensive than a normal sub. The menu even said subs of the day can have items removed from them but not added. And this wasn't a question of a little extra lettuce or olives. The lady had added full servings of salami and beef to her ham sandwich and wanted me to put it in a sub of the day bag and not charge her for extra meat. It ain't happening. I'm sorry, lady. Finally, she stopped complaining and stormed off, much to the relief of the impatient line behind her. I had worked my way through a couple of more orders when blinged out lady suddenly rematerialized and while looking at me dead in the eye, reached over the counter into the deli area and snatched a discount sandwich bag before booking it towards the other end of the store. At the time, the bag racks were kept close to the glass, which wasn't super tall, and she had long, skinny arms and just barely managed to reach. Now, usually, something this small price-wise doesn't warrant loss prevention. But the lady reached into a sanitized area and contaminated it. It meant I had to throw out and restock that whole rack of bags, and that wasn't gonna fly. The customer I was serving saw what blinged out lady had done and was flabbergasted as I was. She gave me gracious permission to run to the deli phone and call loss prevention. I wasn't there for the showdown, but I heard afterwards that my deli manager, who had stepped out to get some stuff off of a supply truck that had just come in, got word of what happened and was not happy. He told loss prevention that he'd take care of it, then went over to self-checkout personally and stood with the attendant. When blinged out lady arrived with her shopping cart, she had the stolen sandwich bag on her sandwich over topping the other one. Like you could obviously see, it was double bagged. My manager basically blocked her way to the scanner and said, "Nope, scan the right bag or give us back the sandwich." My deli manager was ex-military and took no nonsense. And I think blinged out lady must have sensed that, reportedly. She complied immediately and shuffled out without looking at or speaking to anyone, like a little kid caught being naughty. Afterwards, we moved the bag rack to a different spot far from the prep area, and though it was massively inconvenient, we didn't have that particular trouble ever again. Edit for clarity. The price difference on deluxe sandwiches versus sub of the day was only about $3, maybe $4 in most cases. Loss prevention was not going to get involved over an amount that small. The reason they and my deli manager decided that they were going to make sure the lady paid full price for her sandwich was because we had to throw away about $35 worth of bags on her account. And also, she had just been really obnoxious to us. Also, she had massively held up the line. This caused several people to leave the line without buying a sandwich, which in turn also lost us money. Our next story comes from r/Tales from the Front Desk, posted by user ScrabbleNerd589. A day in the life of manager on duty. MOD report. Hotel name, Wilton. Date, February 26, 2025. Shift, evening, because apparently chaos doesn't sleep. 1. Guest interactions. Guest in room 204 called the front desk at 3:15 a.m. to report that their mini fridge was making suspicious noises. Upon investigation, it was just the ice maker. Guest then asked if we could ask the fridge to keep it down. I politely informed them that the fridge is a rebel and doesn't take requests. Guest in room 311 demanded a room change because their current room was too rectangular. They insisted on a more circular vibe. Sadly, we are fresh out of yurts. A group in room 412 ordered 12 pizzas at midnight and then called to complain that the elevator smelled like pepperoni. I suggested they blame their life choices, not the elevator. Maintenance issues. The pool is temporarily closed because someone tried to recreate the Titanic scene on the inflatable flamingo. The flamingo survived, but dignity did not. The ice machine on the third floor is out of order. A guest attempted to fix it themselves using a butter knife and a dream. They failed. The butter knife is now in custody. 3. Staff highlights. Jerry from housekeeping found a guest's pet hedgehog hiding in the laundry cart. The hedgehog is now named Spike Lee and has been reunited with its owner. Jerry is demanding a raise for his exotic animal handling skills. Linda at the front desk successfully convinced a guest that our do not disturb signs are infused with a calming essential oil. The guest bought 3 to take home. Chef Marco accidentally set off the fire alarm while trying to flambe a dessert. The guests thought it was a fire drill and lined up in the lobby with their luggage. Free s'mores were offered as compensation. 4. Miscellaneous. A guest left a 5-star review praising our haunted vibes after hearing the ice machine at night. We're considering leaning into this and offering ghost tours. The vending machine ate someone's dollar, and they wrote a strongly worded note calling it a heartless capitalist. The machine has been counseled. A wedding party in the ballroom accidentally ordered 200 balloons instead of 20. The lobby now looks like a clown's fever dream. Closing notes. All in all, a relatively calm evening at the Wilton. No fires, no floods, and only one minor existential crisis. Mine. Tomorrow's goal? Convince guests that the ice machine is not, in fact, haunted. Signed, Manager on Duty. And part-time Fridge Whisperer. Our third and final story is coming from r/TIFU, posted by user GuiltyEvent2657. TIFU by being a paranoid horror nut. So this just happened. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm laying in bed next to my husband, scrolling Reddit after having woken up because of what I can only slightly remember being a home invasion nightmare. I have tried unsuccessfully to get to sleep several times in the past hour, but every time I try, my brain puts up stupid images of some unknown crazed stranger by scaling our apartment building and climbing onto our balcony to stare creepily through our sliding glass door, which just so happens to be right next to our bed. Who made this stupid design call? So I'm up, paranoid and butt naked. I always sleep butt naked as I find it most comfortable. LOL, this is relevant later. All I can think of is scenes from every horror movie I've ever watched. Suddenly, I hear 2 loud knocks on the door. I freak out and wake up my husband. Took several shakes because he actually sleeps like a dead horse. Help us if something actually happens. And he groggily goes and checks the door through the peephole, comes back, telling me no one's there, and it was probably just the wind throwing around our little welcome sign. He's probably right. That sign does knock about when it's windy out, but of course my brain is convinced that it was actually some creepy skin and bones man that is clearly just hiding out of sight. Why do I do this to myself? Eventually, I hear more noises. In retrospect, probably just tree branches shaking and the sounds of our neighbor waking up and getting ready for an early shift. And I'm like, I got this. I'm gonna look around the entire apartment this time. So I get up, flashlight in hand, check every room, closet, bathroom, and of course, the front door and balcony. Obviously, there's nothing, so I walk my naked self back to bed as quietly as I can manage, and then I see it. Some pale-faced creature in my bed, eyes dark and trained on me, my body tenses, and I let out a small scream and a defense fart. Louder than it usually would be because I have no pants to muffle the sound. It is only after I realize my self-defense honk that I realize it's not a demon or a ghost or whatever my movie-addled brain thought. It was my husband squinting at me. He had been woken up when I got out of bed and been sitting up, waiting for me to come back, and unknowingly scared the flatulence out of me upon my return. "What are you doing?" he asked. Definitely sounded annoyed and exhausted. I laughed nervously as I came back to bed and said, "Your face scared me, I guess." He grunted and rolled over. "You're weird." I continued to giggle for a little bit over it and the absurdity of it for a little while before deciding to hop on here and share this stupid little anecdote while I try to quiet my freaked out little brain down enough to get some sleep. So thanks for being with us. The RR Show is a production of Evergreen Podcasts and Wessler Media. Now, if you'd be so kind, please follow or subscribe to our show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're feeling extra nice, you might as well leave a 5-star review. But for more, visit the website, rrshow.com. That is rrshow.com. I'm your host, Vince, and we'll see you next time here on The RR Show.